Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps a better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I'm sure many of you recognize that poem by Robert Frost. It's many people's favorites. It's definitely way up there for me. I love it. And today's message is entitled The Divergent Way, and it's also the series title, and so it's kind of the center pin of this series, and we're going to explore exactly what the Divergent Way is. And one of the things that poems do that you can't just explain is it gives you a different picture. And it speaks at a different level when it comes to trying to understand something. And Frost's last words here in this poem, I think really encapsulate what our series is about. And it says, and as a poem, says way more than I could give you a big explanation. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That's the essence of the Divergent Way. And as this is our fifth talk. We squeezed the Thanksgiving one in there, but the flow of this series comes down to understanding really what this Divergent Way is. And it's what is God calling us to? And so we need to do a little bit of a recap on how we got to where we are today. And so because we started this in September, and so we started with a foolish message. And so if you haven't heard the previous messages, you can actually go on our YouTube site and you can catch up. Rob McDonald preached this one, did a great job. And it's Paul has a in his first letter to the Corinthians, he has a section in this letter that is just awesome. It is so good, and it exemplifies the idea of the divergent way, using compare and contrast statements that Jesus used so much, but all the biblical writers seem to use with great effectiveness, taking these really difficult things to understand and paring them down, not to just black and white or some kind of moral choice, but a choice between two paths or two ways of life. And sometimes we don't like the simplification. However, it is very effective. And so that's what we want to really delve into today. And so kind of the highlight passage from that first message was, "For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing." Interesting statement, right? "But to us who are being saved, it is the power of God." And what he goes on to explain in this passage is the difference between human wisdom and God's wisdom. And he kind of flips everything on its upside down and says things like, the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men. Right? It's just like, it's fabulous writing. But just using that style so effectively to really to expose the absurdity that we all have, where we all have a doubt and a pushback against God's wisdom. And we feel it, and sometimes we're sure that we're right. And when we're confronted with the wisdom of God, we have to make a choice. And so that's why the Divergent Way is not an easy way. It's difficult. And so we're going to explore that today. And ultimately, what Paul is getting at in that passage is what is true wisdom? Is it your understanding? Is it how you've been shaped to see the world? Because you didn't come up with it on your own. You were shaped. We're all shaped. We're all disciples, I guess, disciples of something or someone. In fact, someone's, like multiple sources. And so, that divergent path will often seem foolish. Well, that doesn't make sense. Right? But that's according to human wisdom. And it's countercultural, so sometimes it's just like there's lots of pushback that comes right from here, right? Not necessarily from here. Sometimes the pushback's right in here. It's like, no, I don't think so. And it goes against our natural bent and way of thinking. And so that's our first message. The second message was about we live in a broken world, brokenness. It's all around us. And it's not just out there, it's in us. And it would be much easier if it was just out there, right? Because then it's everyone else that's broken. But we're all broken. There's a brokenness that resides in all of us, and we struggle with it, and it's difficult. And you may think that there's a whole bunch of people here that are just put together and they got it all happening, and that's not true, right? I'm not saying you're all like train wrecks. But you're all train wrecks. Right. You guys are, not me, no. I'm a train wreck too, believe me. Probably more than anybody. But it's this brokenness, and it's heavy, and it's weighty, right? And it's hard to understand. And so we asked the questions, how did we get here? How did the world get here? How did we get to this spot where there's brokenness around us and in us? And then, of course, followed up by, how did we get here? Well, can it be repaired? Or are things just broken beyond repair? Am I broken beyond repair? And so we delved into the idea that in that particular message, that there's a villain in our story called the unholy trinity. It's three villains. It's the world, meaning the world is not the earth or the planet that we're living on. It's the pushback around us and in us against the things of God. That's what the world represents. The flesh, that's our own desires. That's us, so that we have part of the villain is in us. That's just not good news. And of course, the devil. And so we have this unholy trinity. And we have these three things that we are warring against when it comes to brokenness, and they're responsible for it. And we went through the story in Genesis 3, where sin, death, and the curse entered the world. And from that moment, humanity needed saving. And somewhere deep inside of us, we know that. We're either trying to save ourselves, or we're looking to something. I mean, where else would you get the ideas for Marvel, right? You got all these superheroes, and they're coming. What are they doing? Well, they're saviors, right? They're coming to save us. We need a superhero. Especially when everything's going south really fast, and we have no confidence in government and authority, right? It's just like we need something to save us, and so we look for a savior, and unfortunately, for most of us, that savior is something that's human. It's some sort of human solution. And what happens is we get in this cycle, and it happens over and over and over. And so, but we can't save ourselves because we can't stop sinning. We can't just end it. The sin is just, it's very frustrating. But we can't stop. It's going to be with us in this side of heaven. And we can't avoid death. Like death, we don't like talking about it, especially in our culture. We don't like thinking about it, but we can't avoid it. And the best human solutions cannot reverse the curse. And so like if you're wondering, what in the world are you talking about? I can't repreach that message. You'll have to go and see that message. That's message 2, is a broken world. And the third, linked right to it, is the human condition. We explored the human condition and humanity's best solutions, but they always fail. They're always temporary. And so we asked a few questions. Why is everyone so unhappy? Why is fulfillment so elusive? Because we all just desperately want fulfillment. Because the opposite is like nobody wants to be unfulfilled, right? I want to live an unfulfilled life. It's like, I've never heard that from anyone. There's something in us, and we labeled that as a thirst. We have this thirst, and we're seeking fulfillment. And we're trying to quench that thirst with whatever we think will bring us fulfillment. And so we asked the third question near the end of that message. If you're a Christian, I'm not assuming everybody is, by the way, so if you're here and not, and just maybe this is your first time, welcome. We're glad to have you. But most Christians would go like, yeah, Jesus can save, but we really struggle with, but can he satisfy? So we have this thirst that can't be quenched by anything in or of the world, yet we relentlessly pursue fulfillment. All of us do it, right? It's not just the guys out there or across the street or wherever. Sorry if you're across from the street. I'm not talking specifically about you. That's not in my notes, by the way, so yeah. And it's puzzling how we just go after it and we just keep going. It's just this cycle over and over. We try to quench this thirst, and it's never quenched. In fact, it just gets worse. So we found out that through Solomon that God has put eternity in our hearts. And so the thirst isn't actually for the thirst or for the things around us. It's a divine thirst because we're created beings. And the thirst is actually after the things that are eternal, the things that we can't see, but we continually trade that off for the stuff that's right in front of us. Well, let's try this instead. And so we found out the human condition, we have corrupted hearts and disordered desires and loves. And in the end, Jesus actually offers to quench that thirst with himself, with his, called it living water. And so it's his ways. And ultimately, the idea of this divergent way is that we're continually pursuing the other way rather than the divergent way because we're convinced the other way is going to bring us that fulfillment that we want. And so that's, in essence, how we got here. You're saying, well, why did you preach so long in those other ones? I don't know. Let's hopefully we can get through this one maybe a little sooner. I'm just kidding. I'm not too worried about that. Now you're worried, right? And so here we land, the divergent way, and we're going to explore it today. So the divergent way is ultimately about the solution, God's solution to the human condition and the brokenness and the thirst that drives us. So Jesus defeated sin by living a sinless life, fulfilling the requirements of the law. He reversed the curse by becoming our curse on the cross, and he defeated death by rising from the dead. And so God's solution starts with a hero. And the hero, of course, is Jesus. Now, it's an odd story for a hero to end up being crucified and to be, it seems like he was just powerless as the people rejected him and Rome, did the actual pounding of the nails, the crucifixion. And yet it was all part of this redemptive plan that God had, that he wanted to save people because he loves people. He's driven by his love for his creation. And through his death and resurrection, Jesus offers us new life. So this is a key concept. When we think about the human condition, what we really need, if we have corrupted hearts, disordered desires, disordered loves, what do we need? We need new life. We need a new heart. We need to become a new creation. And that's what Jesus offers through his death and resurrection. That he took the penalty for sin. That's the idea of he met the requirements of the law. And so he qualified to become our Savior, to sacrifice himself to save the ones he loved. And so he gives us this new light, forgiving us our sins and transforming our hearts. And here's the best news of all, you guys. The good news is that the offer is for anyone who would receive it. It's for all people. Like, you don't have to qualify somehow. You don't have to get your life together and then, okay, I'm ready. Now I can maybe go through the church doors and not get struck by lightning. Maybe. I'll just take the chance. That's not how it works, right? That's a different God. I think that's Zeus. Yeah, he throws lightning bolts. It's for all people, regardless of your social status, your ethnicity, your wealth, or anything that we can think, oh, that kind of person is the person that God wants to save. No, or yes, all, but everyone. No one's excluded from God's heart for salvation. Jesus' sacrifice was for all people. And so the call and the invitation is to receive it. And that's what we're going to explore from here on in this message. We're going to explore the invitation. And so we're going to head to Matthew chapter 7. And Jesus talks about a narrow way, a narrow gate, a hard way, but it leads to life. And so this is what he says, and it's in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' most famous sermon, starting in verse 13. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow, and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. So let's just look at the contrasts in here. There's a whole bunch. So we have a narrow gate and a wide gate. We have an easy way and a hard way. And the key contrast here is we have two destinations. We have destruction and life. Many and few. So he uses four in this little tiny sentence here, or two sentences, whatever it is. You contrast these four different things. And it's very powerful. It's very easy to, in our imagination and in our minds, we can picture what he's talking about because the contrasts are stark, right? They're all opposites. And so let's explore what Jesus is getting at here. We'll start with the road well traveled. So the wide road that leads to destruction can be defined, ultimately, this is where it is. It's by following your own way. It's choosing your own way, what you think is best. And what you think is best, if you want to drill down, it's probably a more subconscious thing. You probably haven't sorted through it, but maybe you have. But it's your vision of what the good life is. Just think about that. I'll just give you a few seconds here. What's the good life? I think most of us, it doesn't take long for those thoughts and images to come into your mind. Oh yeah, that's the good life. Some of us, we're probably on a beach there. You can come back now, right? Palm trees, and you're like, oh, the waves. Oh no, I'm in church. What's the good life? It's an important question that you need to answer, all of us. I've thought about it a lot. And I don't like I don't want to call it my subconscious, because it is both subconscious and conscious, what my vision of the good life is. That's what I'm continually battling against, because it doesn't look like the good life that Jesus offers. Now, it's not like completely stark opposite. There's elements that are the same, but there's elements that are off. And it's really difficult for me to believe certain elements of what Jesus is offering as the good life to be actually the good life. And that is the ever-present war that we all have inside of us. The vision of what you think the good life is. That's what you're shooting for. That's what you're going for. In fact, you could even say that's probably where envy comes in, because you see someone else having your vision of the good life. Oh, that person. I wish I was like them, or I wish I had that, what they have, or because what's driving that is the vision of what you think the good life is, and you see that they have it and you want it. So the way that seems best to you. So here's some cultural phrases that you probably hear quite a bit, and it's this is usually in the form of advice. Like follow your heart, or it's in Disney, right? It's like, is there like a really Frozen type movie where this is like the main thing? Follow your heart, follow your desires, fulfill your desires. You do you. Like it's all about you. That in order to really have fulfillment, you have to fulfill your desires. That's the push. That's what's underneath it all. Here's what Proverbs says. And Proverbs is wisdom literature in the Old Testament, written by King Solomon, who lived like 3,000 years ago. And this is what he says. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. That's harsh. He's outing us there, because that wisdom is, I don't like it. Well, seriously, if you think about it, what do you mean? It seems right to me. Why would it be leading to death? That's not fair. What's going on? But this is the essence of this of the wide road. It's what makes it the easy way. It's because you're just giving in to your own desires and chasing after that dream of the good life, and you're doing whatever it takes to get it. You're following your heart, right? Even though we've found out in the human condition, it's corrupted and deceitful. And unfortunately, it's our default way. We actually start life traveling on this path. And that makes it really difficult to give up. I mean, why is this path so hard? Or why? Oh, sorry, I'm not there yet. It is very unfortunate because we don't necessarily choose the wide road. I mean, you might, especially if you come to that moment where you have to choose. But mostly, we're just on it. Most of humanity is just on it. I haven't really thought about it. And it's actually, it makes it difficult because you actually have to decide intentionally to get off it. And so the brokenness in the world, the human condition, are products of life traveled on the wide road. And why? Is because it runs opposite to God's design and desire for human life and for human flourishing. Sometimes we see God's, we look in God's word and it's like, oh, this seems so, sometimes archaic, seems like old, and seems to be a lot of rules. You guys ever thought that? I mean, I grew up in a Christian family, so I was like, that's how I viewed the Christian life. It was just all rules. It's like, this is lame. I'd completely missed the essence of what this is. That I actually can be in relationship with a real God who's alive. Like Jesus. He rose from the dead. He's not still dead. And that it's actually God's desire, as he's designed life for us to live in it for human flourishing. That's why, when we talk about the Christian ethic, it's so different in so many ways from the cultural ethic. We're trying to align our disordered desires with Jesus so that he can reorder them. And our view of what the good life is, we want to go, okay, I've got to trade my view for Jesus's. And when we don't, we travel this wide road, and it's destruction. Like, often we think about just the destination of destruction, but I think the image, and especially in the context of what Jesus is talking about, he's talking about the whole journey. This is what brings destruction into the world and into our own lives, constantly. It's because it's pushing against God's design, and then we wonder why we're where we are. Like, why is this happening to me, or us, or in the world? But we constantly push back on this narrow way, and that's what we're going to get into now. It's the road less traveled. There's a narrow gate, a hard road, and only few find it. That sounds a little depressing, right? A narrow gate. It's, at first glance, it seems like God's just making it like secret. And so, if you're answering the question why, I mean, you have to think about that. But it's actually, once you get into it, you're like, oh, it's not secret at all. Some people don't know it exists, for sure. It's one of the roles of the church is to get the Divergent Way out there, the way of Jesus. And so let's explore this a little bit. Like, why is this? Why is it narrow? Why is it a hard road instead of an easy road? And why do only a few find it? Okay, narrow gate. So there is an entrance. That's the first thing. There's a gate, there's an entrance. And so to enter, you must give up your own way. So why is it difficult? Why is it hard? Why is it narrow? Number one, because it's laying down the thing that is closest to you. The way of life, the way to fulfillment, the way that you're chasing after the good life. You have to lay it down. You have to give up your own way. Like, it's that word that we love, surrender. It's the picture of surrender, right? In our minds, the human way of thinking, it's defeat. We're done. But it's not. It is the most difficult thing to do. Because you think it's the best way. It's the way that seems right and wise to you. It's maybe the way you've grown up and the influences that have influenced your mind and the way you think. And so it's very hard to think of, well, I have to give that up, but that's not. And yet, if you'd stop and ask this question, is it working? Even if you captured what you got to the place of the good life that you thought, guess what happens? You attain that only to realize, oh, that isn't the good. Oh, there's this. There's something else. There'll always be something else. So it's really difficult. That's why the gate's narrow. Not many people enter it. Secondly, it's to enter requires intentionally changing paths. We can't walk two paths. That's why I love the poem that we started with. There's two roads, they diverge. You've got to pick one. Can't straddle them, right? With rollerblades. It's like, because they're going different directions. Unless you got really long legs, but you have to be really, really long legs. Because this is a lifelong journey. And this last one, you have to enter through the gate. And the gate is Jesus. You're like, what? Yeah. This is what John says in John 10. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers. That's people proclaiming to be the Savior. But the sheep have not listened to them. The sheep are his people. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. Here's our starting point. Jesus, the invitation at the narrow gate is to enter. Because coming through the narrow gate is what? Salvation. If you enter through me, you will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture, talking about the sheep. Sounds like a good life for a sheep, right? He's taking care of them. And here's the villain. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. There it is. Jesus is offering fullness of life. But you have to enter through the gate. The gate is Jesus himself. It's this acceptance of who he is and what he has done for everyone, but also what he has done for you. It's that confession of, Lord, the realization, that comes from God too, that I've sinned. I'm on the wrong path. I want to follow you. I want you to have my life. I surrender myself, my desires, everything. I want to come through this gate. That's the starting point. That's the beginning of salvation. So that's the narrow gate. How about the hard road? You know, the narrow gate I can understand maybe. The hard road is more difficult for me to accept. Let's put it that way. Like, why is it hard? There's messages out there you've heard that if you enter the gate, your life will be easy. It's like the opposite of what Jesus is teaching, like right in the Sermon on the Mount. All your troubles will fly away. You'll be good. Everything will be. You'll be happy. Everything. That's not reality. Well, why? So why is the road hard? Because Jesus is the road as well. He's the way. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Right? This road leads to life. So he's the way and the life. And the call to change plans is not simply to enter the gate. That's not what Jesus' invitation. That's the beginning. It's to enter through the gate so that you can travel the path. And to travel the path, to enter the gate, it's a giving up of your life, a laying down of your desires, and surrendering your will to Jesus and his way of thinking and living. So that's why the road is hard. It goes against our natural bent. We have to intentionally go to it. It's the way of Jesus, and there may be simplicity to it. And we're going to explore like the path of love in the next few weeks. There's some different paths. We're going to actually, okay, so what does this journey look like? But those are difficult. And they're not our natural bent, and we'll explore why in those messages. And so I think this passage here in Matthew, where Jesus is talking to his disciples, gives us a picture of why the road is hard. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Okay, you can't just read that and just keep going. You have to, what? So here's what's going on. We're trying to save ourselves. This is the idea of the good life that you're shooting after, that you're chasing after on the wide road. It's about salvation. There's something in you that thinks, that's what I need to fill whatever it is that's inside of me, this need to be saved. If I have that, I'll be good, I'll be fulfilled. And Jesus is saying you have to give that up. If you try to save yourself, you'll lose yourself. And goes on to say, this is awesome. It's all awesome. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world? Another huge contrast. Yet forfeits his soul. Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? Like, how much is that worth? Is it worth in gaining the entire world? Is that worth more than your soul? This is Jesus going like, no, it's not. So the hard road, it's definitely difficult. This idea of taking up a cross, are you kidding me? But it's the idea of following. It's becoming more like Jesus. It's actually a path that you travel for the rest of your life. And the hard road leads to life. This seems strange. It seems like cross is a thing of death. But the call from Jesus is to come and die, like he did, so that you can have new life, like he has. That's the call. That's the invitation. Lay down this life and get something new. The thing that's deep inside you, that's what you're craving. When you lay down your life, Jesus gives you his. He gives you his life. And when you surrender your desires, Jesus starts aligning your desires to bring life into you. And so, kind of the final thing I want to explore here today, I guess in some ways it's the so what is the journey itself, because this is where we're gonna head off in the next weeks as we go through this series. We're gonna explore the journey on this path. And so I want to put some kind of ways to think about it. I think that are really important because some of us have grown up or we've been shaped to think that if I stumble, if I fall, if I'm not where I'm think I'm supposed to be, if I have I should be better, I should. If that is running your life, I think the invitation that Jesus is giving us, we need to understand what's going on here, that this is not about arriving at a destination. So it's the journey that leads to life. So you will still stumble and fall. So our last message on Thanksgiving, we'll just use it as an example. It was the path of entitlement versus the path of thankfulness. Choosing the path of thankfulness does not mean you will now no longer ever be entitled. I'm so glad that struggle is gone. No, that's not what it's about. It's about making a choice, and it's about journeying on that path. And here's the key word. It's about becoming. It's about becoming. So it's always changing, and you're always becoming. You've never arrived, right? She's like, now I am fully a thankful person. I can't grow anymore in this, right? It's like, what? Wow, how did you get there? Like, that's a misunderstanding of what Jesus is laying out for us on the paths. So we need to understand, we will still stumble and fall. You will still struggle with surrendering your will the whole way. And the desire to go your own way will still be very strong. That's why it's this idea of deny yourself daily. Because it doesn't go away. And so the shift in thinking is that it's not about arriving at the destination. So we're not trying to get to life. It's being on the path, choosing this path that brings life into you. And as you journey, it just continually is bringing life into you. Just like traveling the wide road, there's this continued destruction and chaos and disorder is just coming into your life. And sometimes, I was going to say flooding, but it's not always flooding. Sometimes it's just a trickle. And you don't even notice that it's growing. But we're always becoming, no matter which path that you're on. It's not about arriving at this destination. It's about the journey itself. We're always becoming. Meaning the journey itself is one of always growing, right? In every area. But the best part is growing closer to Jesus. continually becoming more like him, and constantly being transformed into the person God desires you to be. And it's slow. So Paul says, we're being transformed into the image of Christ, one degree of glory to the next. It's very slow. And so often this is why we look at ourselves and think we should be further along the path, because I have done this. In fact, I was doing it yesterday. It's like, oh man, I was actually doing it this morning. Who am I kidding? Right? I think that was God going like, no. Fast forward a little closer. Right? We start beating ourselves up and I should be further. And maybe I should be. But that's not the point. It's about this journey, and that God is transforming me into the image of his Son, one degree of glory to the next, and I'm trusting him for it. And the best part of this whole idea of Divergent Way is that Jesus walks it with you. It's his presence. So what distinguishes the divergent path? You enter through the gate is Jesus. You start walking the road, the way, and that's Jesus too. Jesus is the way. And Jesus is walking with you all the way through the good and the bad. I'm thinking of Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, so I'm on this path, and for some reason on this narrow, through the narrow gate in this hard road, there's a valley of death. Well, that doesn't sound good. But what does the psalmist say? You're with me. But you are with me. He's with you on the path no matter how dark the moments are in your life. He's with you on the path when the path is full of light for you. He's always with you, and that's the best part of the Divergent Way. So when Jesus finished the Sermon on the Mount, this is what he said. Again, a beautiful little parable using some stark contrast. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a man who built his house on a rock. And the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house. But it did not fall because it had been founded or built on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine, so what Jesus is explaining, it's not good enough to hear and even have intellectual assent and agree. There's more to it than that. And everyone who hears these words of mine but does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house. And it fell, and great was the fall of it. So when we're looking at this divergent way, this journey, it's ultimately about what you're building your life on. The invitation from Jesus is to enter the narrow gate and to build your life on the way of Jesus. So the point of the Divergent Way is actually to traveling the Divergent Way, is not mastering your sin or desire, right? It's not just about trying to control those things, but rather it's which path you're traveling, because ultimately it's about God's presence, right? It's what you're building your life on and who or what you're trusting to give you life. There are ultimately only two choices. Here's our two paths. Either you trust your own way and the wisdom of the world, how you've been shaped to think, and what you see as the good life, or you trust Jesus, his wisdom, and his ways. That's the two paths. Two roads diverged in a wood. And I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. These are the paths. You can choose today. If this is the first time you've heard about the Divergent Way, the way of Jesus, and you're like, yeah, I'd like to enter that gate. Today's a good day to do that. What Jesus has done for you is the invitation to come. Come to me. And so if someone invited you, they would be like excited to pray with you. I encourage you, give your life to Jesus. If you've been walking the road for a while, but have become discouraged, maybe lost your way, doesn't mean you're off the path. I would encourage you to linger. We're not actually going to tear down the sanctuary this week for Alpha for Youth because we are having the murder mystery night on Wednesday, and so we're not going to be distracted. If you want to stay, if you're like, you know what, this has been hard, and I want to realign. I want to get back on this, not get back on the path. I want to make this shift. I want to lay down again, deny myself, pick up my cross. I want to lay down my desires. I want to lay down what I think is the best choice and that vision of the good life. And I want to accept Jesus's. Linger. If you're with friends, pray with them. I'll stay behind. I'll stay up here. If you want to come pray, I'm happy to pray with you. In fact, super excited. So the choice is yours. What path will you choose?